Hi. Wait one sec. Hi. Welcome. My name is Zara. Today we are talking about the best books of 2025. Let's get into it. New background, we have moved into our new dorm. And I'm so excited for this journey, and I may potentially be filming another vlog too, where we just explore the city and have fun, go book shopping. Today we are talking about the best books of 2025. Let's get into it. 2025 was a great year. I got so much done. I got so much done probably isn't the correct word. I feel like 18 was for unlearning all the negative beliefs and toxic things and just draining habits. So sorry, my throat. But 2025 is 19, and 19 was for relearning. 19 was for learning new things. 19 was for reading insanely incredible books. 19 was for putting my soul first, and 19 was for trying new things and going on new adventures and stepping outside my comfort zone and doing things I would never normally do, and meeting new people and doing things alone, you know. Even this whole dorm thing, did it alone, and I'm here and I'm excited. I'm back in my home city, and you might be wondering, home city and dorm, it's complicated, and I will explain it maybe potentially in my next video, but 19 was wonderful. 2025 was such a roller coaster. There were so many ups, so many incredible things, and of course, so many learning points and lessons that we learned that we're going to take with us forward. So many new habits that we built, so many incredible things that we experienced that I will hold on to and cherish. And I hope that 2025 treated you well too. I hope I hope last year was easy. I hope last year was a year where you put your soul first and where you just did all the things you've always wanted to do, including, and this is one of those things, so that is why I'm here and I'm filming this video again. Let's get into all the books that I read, starting off with, putting this to the side, starting off with a book I loved, and that was a fantasy, of course. And by the way, before I continue, I will be posting a carousel and maybe a reel as well on Instagram and TikTok. I will link all of my stuff below. I'm speaking really quietly because I don't want to disturb everybody else. This is like my own dorm, but like in this hall, I just don't want to be super loud. So yeah, that is why my voice is kind of like low. But anyways, just saying, I'm posting all of this stuff on my Instagram and my TikTok too, so you can always check me out there and come say hi. Let's just yap on all our platforms. And I post my short form content quite regularly, so you'll hear a lot from me there. I will try my best to post like mini vlogs and things like that too. So, but I'm always updating that, and I put so much effort into my carousels and my Instagram posts. So if you are interested, totally check it out. But anyways, the first book that that's like number one, probably, that I read in 2025, and that was Air by SUBSTACK. This was just an incredible fantasy that just made me fall in love with this genre all over again. I am, if you don't know, a thorough fantasy girly. I read fantasy. I got into reading because of fantasy, and it is probably my favorite genre. And so this book, but honestly, over the last few years, I feel like everything is just marketed as romantasy. Everything is just a repeat. There's not a lot of originality. So I was kind of, I don't know, falling out falling out of love with my favorite genre. And SUBSTACK was like, no, not today. And she immediately just made me fully fall in love with this genre again. And Air is such an incredible, action-packed, emotion-filled fantasy with just like an incredibly diverse range of characters. We have found family, we have brotherhood, we're following actually three main characters. We have Quill, who is heir to the throne of an empire, but who wants nothing to do with the throne. But when his kingdom is attacked, he must step up and save his people. And so Ice embarks on a journey to free her people from this oppression, and she's forced to leave her homeland to do so. Eyes, our other main character, is a Kigari orphan who is furious, and currently her people are under a dictator, a terrible, terrible ruler. We are also following Saoirse, who is personally my favorite character. Saoirse is an exiled witch. She currently tracks people for a living, and she receives an insane offer, and so she decides to take on one last hunt, one last case that offers her, like, this person's offering her an insane amount of money that could potentially change her life. And so she does it, takes on this one last case. And so that is that. And all three of their paths intertwine. Alongside Quill, we have his friends that are following him on this journey too, helping him uncover the attacks that are going on and aiding him in saving his kingdom. We have a whole array of cast, and this book is actually a sequel series to another series. And Ember the Ashes is another series by SUBSTACK. It's the original series, and I think her first book series, and I have yet to read that. That is definitely on my list for this year. But this book is kind of set after the events of that book, and I know that it spoiled stuff for me, but I don't care. I just need to know. So this was just so incredibly beautiful, so well written. I had incredible representation of people of color. I feel like fantasy is one of those genres where there's so many, it's just so white centered and just not a lot of characters of color, but that is definitely changing with like new authors and debut authors coming in, and SUBSTACK just writes incredible people of color representation. She takes a lot of inspiration from, I think, the brown community. As a brown girly myself, as a Desi girl, and she's a Desi girl too, it was so nice to see, and I felt so seen and felt so just related a lot, you know. It really felt like I was being, not that I care too much about representation, as in like, no way, that just not that I not that not being represented, I don't, okay, that didn't make any sense, but I'm glad that I was represented on page, but I feel like it was great representation. Yeah. The world building was also insane. The magic system, loved it. The different tribes and communities. She really takes you into this new and fresh world, and I just loved being there, and I can't wait for the second book in the series to come out. So that was that. Okay, the next book that I want to talk about is another fantasy, and that is Legendborn by Tracy Deonn. This is an epic fantasy. It is just beyond words. It's an urban fantasy. It's YA fantasy. It is set in South Carolina in a school. Our main girl, Bree, is just reeling from grief. Her mother passed away in a car accident. They had a huge fight before her mother went and drove like for work or something, and she's really upset. Fast forward, it's been a couple of months, and she's going to college, and she's living in this dorm situation. And while she's there, she comes across and sees some magical activity happening, and she thinks that the people that are tied to this magical activity may be able to help her discover whether her mom's accident was really just a car accident, or was there something more sinister going on. There are secret societies that practice this magic. There are like, it's just a whole magical world related to this school, and what I'm telling you about this book is so surface level. It is so much deeper than that. It talks about the mother-daughter relationship. It talks about community and how important it is to have a sense of sisterhood, a sense of community. It talks about Black culture and living on land that you were forced to live on and your ancestors were mistreated on. There's so much history, so much terrible history behind South Carolina, behind the school that she is going to, behind what happened to her mom, behind everything, and just all of that. And so it was also a King Arthur retelling. So many layers to this book, and it was so well written. Its portrayal of grief was so beautiful, and even though I've never experienced grief like this, and I can't really say whether it's accurate or not, it was, I felt like it was a pretty good description, pretty good portrait of grief, as real as it maybe can be. I'm not sure. The author herself has experienced the same loss that Brie has, where she also lost her mother. I think Tracy Deonn's story is intertwined with this book and the story that she's telling. So it was just, yeah, it was incredible, and I loved it. I loved just the way Tracy Dion calls out subtle racism, I think that was really important. And I loved seeing Brie kind of find herself again, trust her community again, reconnect with herself and her culture. It was so beautiful. It was so beautiful though. I loved it. And I have to talk about this book. I can't wait to read the rest of the series. It really, truly is as good as everybody says it is. I know it's quite popular and some people might say it's overhyped, but I personally do think that it deserves all the attention it's getting. And I think this is why it's so important that we have people of color being represented and people of color writing, because I think they really talk about the stories that nobody else is talking about. Loved it and cannot wait to get to the rest of the series. We are now taking a rom-com-y turn, and the next book I want to talk about is a book that just made me feel like just me on paper. I felt so seen and I just related so much to the characters and their struggles and their just what they were going through. I think I was going through a lot at this time too, and I'm so glad I picked this book up. And it is Beg, Borrow, or Steal by Sarah Adams. I feel like out of the books that are in the series, I feel like this was least talked about, but I think it is my personal favorite. I absolutely loved it. Just the way that the two main characters were fleshed out, the layers to this book, with Emily being an eldest daughter and having so many responsibilities and putting so much pressure on herself, talks about perfectionism and people pleasing and what it means to be an eldest daughter and what it means to be a parentified child and what it means to finally choose yourself again and unlearn all of that and relearn what it really means to just be and claim yourself, your truest self. I feel like that was so incredible, so lovely to read about, and I had such a great time with this. Our main guy, I think his name is Jack, I hope I'm not wrong, he is also dealing with quite a few things and just living the shadows of a narcissistic yet successful father, and just what that does to a person, and a very passive mom whom he loves, but he can no longer live in that situation anymore, obviously, and he just had to take step backs and put up boundaries. I just love how well written this book was. This was definitely enemies to lovers. It has that country vibe. It has so many emotional layers to it, so much character development that both our main characters go through. Alongside all of that, we have, again, quite a nice array of cast, a lovely like sisterhood that Emily has, and brotherhood, and just family and people that these two can rely on, and them choosing to slowly acknowledge the fact that things haven't been going great and choosing something different for themselves and choosing each other eventually, choosing themselves and then choosing each other. Pair that with the country vibe, pair that with some enemies to lovers, with some perfect, incredible banter and pranks, and all of that was just flawless. I absolutely loved it. It was so well written, and I'm so glad I read it, and I just love Sarah Adams for writing this book. I will definitely be reading her newest book that is on my radar. Newest book in this series, which is the When in Rome series, and I feel like this year I just read so many books that were so incredible. I didn't read a lot, but pretty much everything I read was just amazing. I had such a great time in terms of reading this year. And so, yeah, Beg, Borrow, or Steal by Sarah Adams. Sticking with the rom-coms, the next book I want to talk about is Hello Stranger by Catherine Center. This book really truly just felt like a classic rom-com, the epitome of rom-coms. So well written and so just so classic, like almost something you would see on the big screen, almost something you would see up there with like Nora Ephron's work. It is just a perfect rom-com. Like if you just want that classical vibe, that classical rom-com vibe, this is your book to pick up. I think it was so funny too. It was so funny. It was so just relatable. It was so well written. I love the character development and growth in this one. Sadie is a portrait artist who accidentally ends up with temporary facial blindness, and obviously that is not good for her case at all. Like this is like a curveball, and she's like made it to the finals of like this big art competition too. She has like 6 weeks to like paint a portrait, and she can't see faces. This is an issue. Alongside this, she ends up getting involved romantically with men. It's not what you think, but it is just an incredible book. A classic case of mistaken identity, classic cases of like a well-written love triangle. Just such incredible personal development. Sadie also has some family issues, and dealing with that, dealing with having a really mean stepsister, a stepmother who doesn't really care, everybody kind of just moving on from like her mom, and she had such an incredible tie with her mom. She constantly references her mom throughout the book, and even though her mom we never obviously see on page, I feel like we can really understand her character. I think Catherine Center's characters are so I would say unique, pretty unique, and the setups are always just very unusual, like normal people in unusual setups, and I don't know, I just loved it. It just really felt like a movie. Like I know that The Bodyguard by Catherine Center is being adapted into a movie, and I cannot wait for the rest of her work to be adapted too. So many incredible book adaptations are coming out, and this would just be one that would be like so incredible to see. Loved it. Loved the writing too. Yeah. This was Stranger Hello Stranger by Catherine Center. There we have it. Next we have another Catherine Center read, The Bodyguard by Catherine Center. If you watched my very first reading wrap-up, you know I love this book. I talked about it. My audio in that video specifically while I was talking about this book was not the best, so maybe you don't remember, but I absolutely devoured this book. It was the book that kind of got me back into reading this year, and it was just so well written. Another Catherine Center read, my first Catherine Center read. This book actually introduced me to the author, and I had such an incredible time with it. It was just, loved Hannah, loved Jack Stapleton, who is an A-list celebrity, has a stalker situation, is back in his hometown, Texas, Houston. And Hannah is a protective executive agent, aka a bodyguard for rich people, and she's tasked to protect Jack in her hometown, Houston, Texas. Does Hannah want to be there? No. She wants to be in Seoul, Korea, on a high-stakes mission. She does not want to be protecting this random celebrity man. Does she have a choice? Also, no. Her boss knows that Hannah is reeling with grief. Hannah's mom passed away recently, and now is not a good time for her to be on a big mission, so he puts her on this mission. Alongside this, her boyfriend dumped her pretty much straight after her mom died. So Hannah's just going through a lot in this book, but our girl comes through, and she's thriving by the end of it. Again, an incredible portrayal of found family, and I just love the romance, the way they like give each other space to come out and to just be and not force anything on one another, and are so respectful with each other. I love how they both take a chance on each other. I love how Hannah heals from all the things she was going through, and just the level of character development again that is in this book that Catherine Center writes is just like so lovely and so beautiful to see. I think Catherine Center, like I said, her books are character driven, and her characters are incredible that you just kind of want to follow them. I've only read 3 Catherine Center books by now. Yep, read 3 and loved. So sorry. Yep. So sorry. Loved. Hi, welcome. It's a new day. There has been some technical difficulties, but the show must go on. And so we're just going to resume today. Where did we leave off? Let me just check. I think we talked about, yep, okay. The next book we are going to discuss is a book that I absolutely loved, that probably was like in my top 3 faves. This order of the books is like just kind of messed up. Like it's not exactly in order of like my favorites, but that is Emily Wilde's Encyclopedia of Fairies by Heather Fawcett. I fell in love with this book completely. It made me want to write. It made me want to just pick up more whimsical books. I think I really enjoy books like that. I love books with whimsy and magic and chaos, and this book was exactly that. It is just so stunningly beautiful, and just I loved the main characters. like I wrote, as somebody who was an avid not a fan of cozy fantasy, I love this. This is like one of my favorite books ever. I love the dynamic between our main characters, with there being some academic tension and rivalry, but also such great friendship. They really understand each other. They really see each other. I loved Bambli's character. He's so whimsical and ridiculous and just so typically himself. And I love it. I love how authentic he is and how unique he was. I love the banter between Bambly and our main girl, whose name I'm now forgetting. Book's right here. Book is actually right here. Emily, of course. Emily, oh okay. Anyways, this is the book. Absolutely loved it. I loved Emily, how she's very type A, perfectionist, hard worker, the smartest, most brilliant scholar of her time, I would say. And Bamley just being very, very talented and just ridiculous and whimsical. Completely, they're just like complete opposites. As whimsical and ridiculous as Bamley is, Emily is just very down to earth, very like get to work kind of girl. And I loved her. I loved these characters. This was just such a perfect read. I talk about this in my Instagram post as well. I wrote that it was just, the world was just so captivating. You just don't want to leave. You just want to keep coming back to this world, which is why, of course, I then proceeded to read this book. This is also one of the best books of the year. One of the best books I've ever read. I think this I read this year though. I think so, yeah. Yes, this one I read in January. Okay, this will be in the best books of like 2026. But this, absolutely loved it. Like I said in my Instagram, I just perfectly quoted it and I want to bring it back up. Give me one sec. How have you guys been, by the way? How have you guys been? This has been a roller coaster of a video, but I'm getting it done and I'm gonna post it. I'll be out and about and you guys will see this. Like I said, whimsical yet twisted, a female scholar, the most brilliant of her time, and her rival, who is less human and more fey, embark on a stunningly cruel adventure, and that's exactly what it is. It's so stunningly sharp and cruel, and just like the perfect contrast of like what fairies and fae are like, and I feel like she really just creates such a vivid and beautiful world. Loved it. The romance had my heart, and I love romances like this that are so soft and warm and so bantery, and how they completely understand each other. And I love Bambly, and I love Bambly's love for our main girl. I think it's so beautiful, and I loved reading it. Definitely one of my favorite books of the year, and I will literally read pretty much everything this author writes. She is now one of my auto-buy authors. Will buy her newest book too. Absolutely loved it. Okay, the last book that I want to mention, that these books that I've mentioned so far are like my top 6 favorite reads of 2025. This last one is one that I wouldn't say is on the same level as these other books, but still really, really good. And I just have to mention it. It just completely got me out of a slump, made me want to read books about vampires, and that is, of course, Hot for a Slayer by Ali Hazelwood. This, like I've mentioned, was just pure ridiculousness. It was just unhinged, it was funny, it was ridiculous. And as Ali Hazelwood, that is exactly the kind of books she writes. Like, they're just ridiculous, and I just have the most fun with her books. And I love this. This was a novella too, and I don't know how she managed to get me to fall in love with these characters in such a short amount of time, in just a few pages. And I was like completely obsessed and hooked, and I want a whole backstory. I want more books in this like universe. I devoured it, and it was so good. This was just so much fun. I read it in winter, and it immediately boosted my mood. I was so giggly reading this, and honestly just wanted more, and that's exactly how I felt. That's just loved it. So there we have it, the best books of 2025. I finally got this video done and dusted. It is here, it is done, and I hope you guys enjoyed. Honestly speaking, I just read so many great books. Even the books that aren't mentioned on this list that I read, completely loved them. Like, they were 4-star reads at least, right? 3.75 to 4-star reads, 4.5 stars. These were just such incredible books that I read that last year, and I had the most incredible reading year. I think it's because I was really, really critical, and I gave myself like time. I allowed myself to read like 20% of a book, 20 to 25%. If I still didn't like it and I just couldn't get into it, I would drop it immediately. I was really good with DNFing, and I think that helped a lot. Find reads that I loved and have time to read books that I love, and like I said, pretty much every book I read was a great book. And so I'm so glad. I'm so glad I read such great reads. I can't wait to see what this reading year brings us or continues to bring us. We are into 2026. But with that being said, I hope you enjoyed. I hope that you found a book that you haven't read that you want to put on your list, and I hope that you just had a great time, and hope that 2025 treated you really well. And 2026, let's see what we get up to. I will have more videos coming up soon. I will be way more consistent this year, and I have vlogs coming up. Do not fret, do not worry. Content will be on point, and I will be on top of it this year. So with that being said, I hope you enjoy. I hope you're having a great day, and yeah, let's meet up soon. Let's meet up very soon. And with that being said, I will see you soon in another video. Till then, take care. Bye.